important is it that a CISO is technical? Is that a really important skill set for a CISO?
I would say it depends.
Okay.
So I think for some organizations, it is important that they are technical. But if they are technical, then they do need to have the soft skills. So they need to have the ability to communicate in the language of the stakeholders around them and down as well.
So would you pick a technical CISO over one that could communicate really well that was not so technical?
I would probably pick, if it was my organization, I'd pick, and we're talking any organization.
Sure.
So
I know this is a sweeping statement, but
I would pick one who was not technical, but who could recruit technical.
Understand.
Yeah, absolutely. So
so you're saying that ability to communicate is essential, is absolutely critical over perhaps the technical skills.
Yes, I do. You have to, and I'm talking a certain amount of technicality, but some CISOs have worked their way up, so they've gone through
quite a lot
the
of them
technical.
obviously have had some technical grounding. That's true.
They have, but a lot of them haven't as well. So some have come up through the consulting kind of fields. Some have moved in from, say, the military. So, and I've spoken to military personnel, and they've got great skills and things like that, but they struggle in some areas.
One thing that comes up time and time again when we're talking to CISOs is how lonely the role can feel sometimes.
Yes.
Where can CISOs go to actually kind of, learn, get useful, good information that isn't vendor driven as well?
Well, it's interesting you say that. So a lot of CISOs they will come to me. Sure. So I'm sometimes known as a bit of a therapist. So they will come to me, but there are also groups out there that they can go and connect with all over the world. Yeah. So each kind of country.
Well, like ISSA, these kind of things.
I wouldn't wouldn't point them in those directions. Okay. No, there are more, like, you've got Club CISO in the UK, you've got a CISO organisation in Australia. And those are just two that I can think of, off the top of my head. But
what about the role of analysts? Because I'm skeptical about analysts. Do you feel that they're an important part for CISOs?
Why are you skeptical of analysts?
I feel that they're rather biased depending on how much money you part with.
So as in city analysts, or
I'm talking more like
forensic
Gartners and
okay, right, fine.
These types of analysts. I mean, are they important for a CISO?
Yes, I do think there are. I do think they are, because I understand you're skeptical with regards to them. I think it's good to be skeptical about everything to a certain extent. Not necessarily to accept it. And I think this is a big vulnerability that we have in our industry of being too accepting.
Right.
And I know we've not spoken about this, but typically we consume and we accept rather than push back and ask for proof.
Absolutely.
I see this with a lot of work that I do, say with women or
so
leaders.
Often, exactly. I agree with that. Yeah.
But when it comes to analysts and things like that, so the Forresters, and also the accreditation companies and certification companies and things like that, then some of them are really good.
Right.
But again, sometimes what I see is the knowledge hoarding. So some of them can provide great information. Say the ISF is a classic example. They've got some great information that they provide to organizations, but often it's hoarded. So that it's not disseminated throughout the organization, throughout the team. So therefore they're not able to be effective with it because it's being held back. And so there are some good networks, so some good networking opportunities for CISOs to go and meet. There are conferences and things like that. I am considering building something for CISOs. I haven't launched it yet, but it may be something that I've spoken to CISOs about it actually, and they've said, look, if you do it, we'll come. But it would be kind of small units of them, but a safe space for them to kind of share and collaborate and learn from one another.
Safe
absolutely,
space. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So kind of more masterminding. But yes, so there are networking events that they can go to. Most of the conferences have the networking. They're being sold Two, on that basis of calm, increase your learning, and then connect with other peers like you.
The relationship between vendors and CISOs and security professionals, what's your opinion on this?
Well, what I see right now is overwhelm. So really with the solutions, there are so many vendors out there, so many solutions. And again, I MC at events, and one of the questions, or I will ask questions on panels as well as being a panel member and also speaking at events. But often what I hear from the CISOs is, well, how do we know what to buy?
Who do you trust?
Who do we trust? There are so many out there. Which one should we buy? So often there can be a tendency of falling back on the market leader. So the whole kind of classic.
You buy it because it's yellow.
Yeah, you buy it because it's yellow, or no one got sacked for buying IBM and things like that. So the brand can, in some instances, can be really important. It can be important in regards to, well, if anything goes wrong, we can sue that company. They've been around for long enough. But sometimes there is tension because it could be, here's a smaller vendor or here's a startup vendor, but they have a great solution. And, we've seen it implemented. We've got heard from other clients of theirs. We can see that it's a fantastic solution. So it's really hard, when it comes to what vendor do we go to and buy from?
And how do you cut through all the marketing nonsense? How do you cut through, how as a CISO can you actually figure out what it actually says on the data sheet, for what it actually, the value it delivers? Like, how do you cut through that as well?
Well, sometimes that's where the groups come in. Yeah. So those peer groups of, who's used what. Yeah. That's really useful.
That is really useful.
So sharing that information and being collaborative with that. And this is what I say to many of the companies that I work with. So from an entrepreneurial perspective, make it easy. When you are selling a solution, put yourself in their shoes.
What problem do you actually fix? What credibility do you have that you actually can fix this problem?
Or produce a grid, with the features and benefits, tick, cross, so that you can have that conversation. Sure. Or ask that when you are engaging with your buyer. But it is. We're moving into abundance. So everything is abundant. The era that we're going into, our connectivity, the amount of people that are coming online, the amount of solutions. We're operating on a global basis as opposed to localized. So there's so much more choice. Sure. So everything is in abundance right now.
And it's almost paralyzing, the amount of choice.
This is it. Yeah. It is. It really is. So it's hard for them. It's hard for them to know which solution to buy. And then if you go to any of the trade shows, I mean, we're in London, we've recently had InfoSec, where there are thousands, or if you go to RSACon,
and you're walking around and you're like, well, I can't really figure out what any of them do because it's just marketing speak and it's very difficult to cut through it.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So it is really, really hard. And then if you bear in mind the tenure of a CISO, so, if they are talking to a vendor, is this a new vendor? Have we used it in a different company? Yeah. Did we actually implement it? Did we pilot it? Did we implement it? What was that engagement like with the vendor? Because a lot of vendors are offering just the software or the solution as opposed to the consulting. So therefore, when it is implemented, sometimes it's not working as successfully as it could do because they don't know how to do that.
Yeah. But we've definitely seen that quite a bit.
Absolutely. So,
Interesting.
And it's that consulting part because, say, from an IP perspective or value perspective, you're starting a company, it's a consideration for you as a software vendor. Do we go down the consulting route? Because, that aspect of our business isn't as profitable as just purely offering the software.
What was one piece of advice you give to a CISO today? What is it you think that we really need to start doing differently?
Oh gosh, that's such a big
question.
That's such a tough question. Well, obviously they've got to come engage with me. I would say build your influence, communication, communication and influence.
Don't undervalue the soft skills that really matters.
Absolutely. It's almost like this. I think it's almost like the starting point. Build your brand, build your influence, because so much comes from that. So much from internally making those those bridges, you know, and walking over and getting the buy-in and raising the awareness up to the other C-suite and the board, but also down as well. So that is really important. And then also when you do that, then you're also attracting new talent, your pipeline, and the best talent. So I think it's a really good place to start, you know, learning how to build your personal brand, how to become more influential. And when you are becoming more influential, then you're learning how to better communicate.